Welcome, neighbors, to episode 27 of Two Dimensional Champions. This is Julian.
And I am Thadinator.
Or just Thaddeus.
No,
that's.
no,
I thought
no.
did we get rid of I got rid of the screen name
I
thing because
did.
I said my name with it. Oh, so it's still Thadinator?
Yeah, it's Thadinator.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you what my actual name is. It's a mystery. You'll never be able to figure it out.
Yeah, big spoiler then. Sorry, I just ruined that one. You can find me on Twitter at Julian at Selcouth Comics. I guess that's SELCOUTH Comics, and that's the Twitter. I usually post new episodes of the podcast when it goes up on there. So I do that. I haven't updated Tea Time in a while. I'll probably do that tomorrow with like a big badge post with all the recent episodes we've done. And today we're doing...
And our Twitter is 2D Champs for the podcast. And my Twitter is Thadinator. Boom. And it works.
Are you actually checking it now?
No. Of course not. I should have notifications for that, I think. So if someone were to actually tweet me, I should know about it. And if I don't get a notification, I just won't respond, and then we'll know. You'll just know that it doesn't work.
No, I should tweet you and see.
But yeah, we could even do a little trial.
Yeah, we'll do a trial run and see if that works.
Which we'll forget about immediately. Of course.
Yeah, which I'll completely disregard.
I don't even know what we're talking about. Is this Facebook?
I think it was MySpace. Isn't that what we were talking about?
MySpace is the best.
I know. I love
all the great music from MySpace.
I know. That's where I find all of my favorite bands.
All right.
Anyway, so this is part 2 of a special 2-parter, very exciting, that we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is covering episode 6 to episode 11 of The Perfect Insider. Everything is F. Everything becomes F. Perfect Insider is just what we're calling it. So if you haven't listened to the first episode of this, that's where you'll find all the staff credits, the director, character designer, studio, all that shit. That'll be on that episode. We're just going to skip it on here. And also, if you haven't watched the show at all, I would definitely not listen to this episode because we are going to fucking...
Full spoiler.
Yeah, we're going to fucking spoil it.
Not even like a no spoiler even segment. We're going in deep.
Yeah. So if you wanted to have a taste test of the show to see if you liked it, maybe the last one would be a fun listen. Probably more fun if you had already watched the show. But definitely this one, watch the show first. Or if you're just like some rogue sort of badass who just wants to listen to part 2 of a 2-part podcast, that's cool too. Fuck spoilers.
Spoilers.
You could probably figure this out yourself.
I couldn't, but I'm sure you're smarter than I am.
I felt so dumb.
I felt so dumb.
I know.
I was like, oh my god! Like we talked about the answer, not knowing that we were talking about the answer.
We really did, and I haven't felt so infantilized by a show in a long time. You know what I mean? Like I felt really terrible about myself.
Hey, Julian, where do babies come from? They come from storks, right? Like, isn't that how it works? The stork shows up.
That was absolutely the impression I was under. Yes, a stork. It was a
So
bird.
really, I was just misinformed from my childhood, and that's the reason I wasn't able to figure this out from the get go. Boom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's definitely what fucked me up. I mean, they didn't teach me this shit in homeschool, so damn. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I had a very different impression of how that worked.
But yeah,
So
so just like sort of like run into it.
yeah, so but right before we get into it, if you don't want to listen to this one or for all those reasons I just stated, next week we're going to be, or in the next episode, because we might record it sooner than next week.
Or next month. You never really know. I
Next,
mean, it's just up in the air.
yes, because this show is coming mere days after we did part one,
Yes.
as
Just
I
like what we were
previously
talking
said.
about when we recorded part one. It'll be out
Yeah,
really soon. This is the second part.
I feel really bad actually because I think I said on Twitter that it would be out that
Yeah, but
weekend
no one checks
after.
Twitter. I mean, fucking
Yeah, which is lucky that I only have like 10 followers
MySpace
because
is
I was like,
taking
ooh,
over.
I know. I should have posted it on there, and then I would have actually felt bad.
Yeah.
So the next show we're doing is Beautiful Bones, Sakurako's Investigation, and we're going to be doing the first 5 episodes of that, and you can find that on Crunchyroll, and so you can do that for the next episode if you feel so obliged. But now that we've got that out of the way,
Let's just go into it.
the perfect
Dun
insider was
dun
it?
dun.
Was it really the? It was kind of the perfect
Yeah,
insider.
like that was even a pun. Honestly, like the title itself. I don't know what the F. I forgot what the F was about.
They lost me at the F.
Yeah, then there was that like when there's it was the math.
It was fuck ton of math,
Yeah.
man. A lot of math. It's like, what are you guys talking about? I can't enjoy this
Like
shit.
I saw
Like,
I forgot even what they called the math thing, but I saw on Crunchyroll that it was like, yes, just in case anyone needed to brush up on their like whatever mathematical equation, like whatever
uh,
like law that was that they used. I thought that was
yeah, they were talking
hilarious.
about hexadecimals,
Yes, in case anyone needed to brush up on their
which,
hexadecimals. I was like,
which for me, who had trouble in division, I was just like, well, fuck this. This is not. This is just isn't
the hex
happening.
that's like a circle, right?
I thought, but then they started like representing it with letters. I was like, isn't that fractions? And I was just embarrassing myself. Like my brain felt embarrassed because like everything I thought, I was just watching it and I was like, sure, like okay, they might as well have been talking about the inner workings of different Gundam units,
Right.
and I would have been right along with that. I'd have been like, sure.
It's
I believe that there's a made-up engine
it,
that propels that sort of a machine.
it's like your brain is just like you don't belong here, man, and you're like you're right. I don't belong here.
Yeah, my brain was like, "We have gone too far. We must go back.
Abort, abort.
Let's get the
It's
fuck
like
out of here."
system overload rather.
Yeah,
We can't keep it all together.
yeah.
Let's
I gotta
draw
admit
stick figures. Fuck.
it. My blood pressure did rise at that point.
Yeah.
Uh, but before we got to that point, we took the long journey to that episode. So
Right. Well, and so to recap on the episode 5, that ended with her giving the knife to her uncle to kill her parents, right? So that was the huge
yeah, yeah.
moment,
So
you know.
yeah, that's where we left our heroes last time.
And then
Uh,
like episode 6 like completely changed pace, which I thought was really interesting. Um,
yeah, episode 6 was that the break? The one that kind of felt like
that was when she went back to like the camp and the guy wanted to
right.
leave and the guy was like, "Hey, I'm gonna like offer to bribe you with money." And he's like, "Don't embarrass yourself, bro." And then uh I was like Mohei, where the main chick was getting drunk off of non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah, yeah. That was really weird.
Which, I mean, it was like really lighthearted. I really like when I watched it, I didn't like it, but when I like reflect upon it, I kind of like um how it sort of like took you out of that like super intense setting, you know?
Yeah, it was an interesting. It felt like an intermission. It was kind of like okay, they were really absorbing everything that had happened to him up to that point,
Right.
and I really appreciated it because we got to go back, see what the students were up to. Because I felt like that would have the suspension of belief that he would have just abandoned
I mean,
Well, not that college kids were in danger, but yeah, I don't know.
we were,
It was starting to feel weird.
yeah, and we were talking about it in the first episode, like where did like these were these interesting characters, where the fuck did they all go? You
Yeah.
know, well, yeah. So here's that sort of like it's almost like it's the mid-season episode that's like a recap on I guess everything that's going on. I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. And what I also like too is they talked about that they are in a dangerous situation. Do we really want to keep going and risk our lives doing this? Possibly, because there's still a murder on the loose. And I appreciated that conversation happened because that's one of these things about the type of story where so they're not detectives, they're not part of the police or anything like that, and they get swept up in this rather gruesome murder
Right.
under these very unusual circumstances. And you know, they just, of course, in the situation, they went along with it. They thought about it. They're both very talented and smart, and so there was a certain extent where it was like, sure, but then after a while, you're like, yeah, but why would they? Wouldn't they think about that it's dangerous at a
Right.
certain, you know? And so I really appreciated this episode because I felt it really brought things into perspective, brought balance, and I really liked that they talked to each other and both came to the decision like we need to go back and finish this.
Mainly just because they were like curious and they wanted to figure
Yeah.
it out. But here's
Hmm.
something that's really funny. Speaking of math in this anime, just the other day, I think it was like Saturday, I was with somebody and they were like, you know, one is the loneliest number. And I was like, actually, seven is the loneliest number. And they're like,
uh,
what? And I'm like, because of math. I don't remember actually the explanation that they gave. I just remember that there's a lot of math. And I was like, trust me, bro, seven's the lonely. An anime told me seven's the
this
loneliest number.
this really smart girl in an anime said that it
I
was
know.
the loneliest number, and she definitely knows math better than me.
I'm pretty sure all the math in this like checks out though. Like I don't think that it's all like I don't think it's bullshit.
No, I mean, well, there's no way for me to know,
Yeah, I mean
but
honestly, I
basically,
mean if I tried to
yeah.
figure it out, my brain would
Mhm.
actually explode. But
Yeah, from what I read on Wikipedia, the author, whose name is, I should actually say his name, Hiroshi Mori, he's an engineer.
yeah,
So I'm
he knows
guessing,
what hexadecimals are.
yeah, I'm guessing he knows what math
Yeah.
is.
And he knows that seven's the least number. That was probably a joke that he like said in college or something like that with all of his engineering friends.
Yeah, he has a doctorate of engineering with a thesis on a numerical method for analyzing the flow of viscous plastic.
Yeah,
So like dildos?
I mean that's what
Is
I
that
would be an
dildos?
engineer in.
I mean,
And
yeah, I
dildos
mean
math, bro.
that's what I heard when I heard viscous plastic. Plastic. Wait, viscous means like
Listen, we need to change the subject fast.
yeah, we just
All right,
viscous
so in
means it's like
episode 7, um,
well, hang on a second. So what I actually one thing I really liked in episode 6 is do you remember when Moe she was in her tent and they couldn't get her out
right,
and they cooked food and were waving it into the smell
right,
to her tent and they lured her out with that.
like an arrow or
Uh,
something. That's-
I really like that.
Yeah,
And I have a there's a note here too where I actually guessed. I actually figured out what the everything becomes F is. I think I got maybe bored at a certain point in the episodes because I have a note here that says everything becomes F. F means Frieza.
oh, I
Haha. I
figured it
figured it out.
out.
Yeah.
And freeze is actually a hexadecimal.
Yeah. Yeah. Precisely. Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
And yep. So the also um, the professor switched to a whale T-shirt, which I feel like at some point would have meaning. I'm not sure if it did.
oh
And so they go back to the crime scene.
yeah,
So
and they decided
that,
they want to figure it out before the police do.
yeah, because like you were saying, the guy, the researcher comes out to bribe him to give them a week
Hmm.
because they have a grant from NASA that they want to have go through.
Right.
Um, which I thought was it gave that character some texture. You know, I like that. It was like you know they really it really showed how devoted they are to their work. You
Right.
know? So actually, I enjoyed that little twist. But yeah, episode 7. Now we may continue.
Okay.
Now we-
I thought, I mean, like this episode just it had throughout the whole anime, I thought that had nice little quirks that like made the people seem like people. You know, it's almost like they made like random inside jokes that you knew meant something to each other. Like in the beginning,
Mhm.
he wanted her to go to the entertainment room to like relax, and if she didn't, she'd turn into an octopus rice cracker. Mind
Yeah.
you, I have no idea what an octopus rice cracker is, but yeah, it's but that was a thing, and it was like, oh, it's an inside joke, you know?
Yeah, he says something similar in the last episode where he tells her not to cry that she'll turn into cheese toast.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't really understand.
and I like desperately flipped through my notes to see if there was something like
Right,
that earlier. I don't. I
cheese
don't.
toast
I
leads
didn't.
to F. Oh, I figured it out.
Done.
Yeah,
Yeah, I liked. We get introduced to Ayako, who is another employee at the Magata Research Institute. She's a programmer.
oh, she the super
Uh,
creeper.
she was a super creeper who had all the anime shit in her
Yeah,
room.
and had no interest in men.
Yeah, until she met
Yeah,
Saikawa. And then apparently she had an
right.
interest in men. So
Because he was like a
Ayako and
robot or something like that.
yeah, because he was like super cold
Yeah,
or something.
cold blooded.
Cold
For
blooded.
all those interested, you should really check out the was it Snoop Dogg's Animal
It's
Planet or
like
something like that?
yeah, Animal Plus. It's like Snoop Dogg's. He voices. He does like he talks while watching
It's
animal videos.
amazing. Check it out.
It's really good. That's an in joke you all should be in
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
So
See, we have personalities just like these anime characters.
yeah, precisely. We're real
Mm-hmm.
people. We promise. Yep.
Beep boop beep.
Um, so then we have Ayako and Nishino are hanging out in the
I I
rec
just may
room.
have consumed water into the mic without even thinking about it, so just throwing that out there. Anyway, sorry. I was just like glug glug glug. I was like, oh shit.
Oh, I actually didn't do
Haha.
that.
Maybe the screen is actually doing its job. Or
Oh yeah, you got that
yeah,
screen right for
man.
the.
I'm like,
How's that
I
work
don't
out?
know. Some people say it sounds better. Some people say it doesn't make a difference. No fucking
I,
clue.
I mean, I think you sound better.
I
I
think you
definitely
sound
didn't
better
hear
every
golf.
day. Yeah.
Really? I try to work on
Yeah.
it.
Did you
Yeah,
throat push-ups?
yeah, I do throat push-ups every time before I do the show. For about 30 minutes. Yeah. E u a o. I wasn't that a Japanese thing actually?
Yeah, that
Wasn't
was.
that
But we should keep going.
a?
I'm about to start crying. Oh my god. Oh yeah.
Uh,
So yeah. But did you think it was interesting how they got into like an isolation tank?
yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I was totally thinking
Dude,
that. I thought that
that
was
was
really
really
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
I've been super into like isolation tank meditation stuff as of recently, so I thought that was really trippy. Um, that showed up.
Yeah. How did you feel about that? Do you see shit like that when you like are in the
No,
tank?
do I go into like a crazy VR world where it gets hijacked by like a robot lady and then
Yeah, dead girls.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, not yet at least. Maybe if I
Oh.
like took some psychedelics for one in there, then I'd have that experience. But yeah,
But that is interesting because so it looks similar to what's in the
pretty
show.
much it's just
Because
like
I've
a pod
never.
that you get into that you get into naked, which they said that they were naked but were wearing bathing suits because LOL. Um,
Yeah, and I actually thought I don't know if this was intentional or not, but Nishino Sono's bathing suit I took it as a shout out to Lum from Urusei Yatsura because she's always in that like tiger print
oh right, I know it's Tiger Print. I
bathing
have no
suit.
idea, but
I mean, I don't know if that's actually I don't know if that's a thing, but that's what I thought of anyway. It was Lum. Oh, okay, cool.
nailed
Um,
it.
that could also just be me. So, um, I also have a couple of weird notes here. Butterflies and a weird monkey statue. Was Saikawa in a like? Did they visit somebody else's office at the beginning of the episode? Who had like weird animal shit in it? Oh yeah, it was it the
Wasn't it the sisters, quote unquote sisters? Was that the one that was weird? There are a few weird meetings that happened in that episode. I just sort of glossed over them.
yeah. I don't know.
So
I have this.
here's the clue though. If you're a programmer and you lock yourself up on an island to do programming all the time, you get a little batshit, you know. And then when you go a little
Oh yeah,
batshit, you collect some strange things. And that's
yeah,
sort of what I
yeah,
picked. I was like, oh, well, this makes sense. They're all fucking crazy. Got it.
yeah. It was interesting with the tanks because that actually made more sense to me of how they could stay in such an isolated place.
They just isolate
Um,
themselves more.
Yeah, well, they go into the tanks and they can go anywhere in the
Yeah, that's
tanks,
true.
right?
That's true.
So
That's true.
it's and then later, not in this episode, but Ayako tells them that there's one in each of their rooms too. So that I don't know. I thought that was cool because that made it a little. Otherwise, I was like, wow, they're here all the
Yeah.
time, and they don't. Nobody's fucking like chopped somebody's head off yet. Like just So I thought that was nicely explained. But I would have liked to have seen the tanks earlier. I would have liked to have seen them at some point. It may be part of their tour in the first
Yeah,
episode.
like maybe at a glancing thing, but I don't think it really made that much of a difference either way.
Yeah.
But it
So
did sort of play a fairly critical role towards the end of the anime, the tanks. But
mhm. Yeah.
I thought that the whole Michiru hijacking her shit was pretty crazy.
That was pretty crazy. I got kind of freaked out there. I was like, oh shit, is she gonna be trapped in this like dream world? And I thought it was interesting that Nishino Sono's dream version of Saikawa had a shirt on it with her face on it, which is an interesting.
I don't.
It's an interesting note because when they both go into the machine together later, I think in episode 10, 9 or 10, um, Saikawa's shirt has her face on it again.
Oh, even when he was in his own
Uh,
thing.
I'm trying to remember. I think it might have just been when he was talking to her about all the math shit. Because when they were talking math shit, I was just looking around like, okay, where else
You're
is
just
going?
like, I just can't look at the screen or else Steam. You're
Yeah.
just dead.
So I guess it was just like her own vision of him, but I still thought that was a cool, especially that it came back later.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Um. Yeah. It was. I. You were taking notes on everything. I didn't even like notice that at all. But
Yeah, I'm just,
I did notice the line when Mitra invited her to come to the other side where you can remember everything, and just like
mm,
that was kind of like, oh, I've become like a computer. It's fucking trippy.
basically,
Like,
yeah.
that was when I had
Oh,
my
something.
you know upload your personality into a computer so you maintain immortality sort of thing.
Yeah, and what was interesting is that that's what I thought too, and that was already creepy. But when you watch the rest of the episodes, you realize that it's even creepier because it is actually her,
Yeah.
and that she's just logged in somewhere else, and it is her. So that's one of those things where a lot of these mystery shows they're not very fun to rewatch, because it's like, oh, I already know what's going to
Yeah.
happen, all that. That actually made it creepier when I thought about it. I was like, oh shit, she met her. Like she straight, and they thought it was a dream.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wow, that was pretty cool, and that also explained that
But
because
like that
otherwise it was
scene
like,
is like I knew that there was hacking involved. I knew that
yeah,
like there was some sort of entity that broke into her simulation, you know.
yeah. I just didn't realize it would actually be her.
And then you go into a flashback again on when her parents died.
Yeah, so now we finally get now we stuff finally starts opening up. So we find out what the body bags were about when Nishino Sono had that dream
It,
vision that
it
she
was
had a few
from the
episodes
plane
ago.
crash, and his body bags represent all
Hmm.
the people that died, and she had to go
Yeah,
identify the bodies, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what it
yeah.
was. So she had to identify her parents, um, and Saikawa was there too. And then I got really excited because I was like, "Oh shit, that's why he only has one eye. He has both of his eyes, as we see later." At this point, he still hadn't his hair hadn't moved, so I was under the impression that she had like fucking
Just like blinded one eye when she slapped him.
yeah, yeah. That was the first thing I thought of was like, oh damn,
Oh, cold
but
blooded.
yeah, cold blooded. But no, she breaks his glasses. She smacks
And
him.
then he bleeds, but then sort of like watches over her or whatever, and that's sort of like how they met, right? Like,
Yeah, and actually, I thought her story was really well done. I really liked Nishino Sono's how the story how they pieced that memory how she pieced the memory back together, I should say. I
it
thought that
took her
was
like a while to sort of like work through it, and I think that's just because to represent the trauma of some of an experience like that.
yeah, and it just had happened a long time ago. She had really tried to work through it, and it made sense, and that was a nice reveal. I thought it was very delicately
It
done.
had a lot of
You
depth to her character as well.
Yeah, and it also added a lot of depth to
That's
Saikawa.
true.
You really understood where he was coming from with that, and you saw how. I mean, he doesn't show a lot on the surface, but I really, especially with that shot of her in her bedroom, I'm trying to remember it, and he's sitting on the staircase or
Yeah.
something, and she was freaking, what was she doing? She was in the bath, by the bathtub. It was something weird. I
She
just
might have just been
had,
crying, and he just sort of like
yeah,
he almost assumed like a guardian angel esque role, you know, like he was just
yeah.
always around her, and I think he was even like still bleeding at that time or something like that.
I think so. Yeah, I just thought that scene was really powerful because you really saw that he was going through a lot of pain himself, and you could really just I don't know. I just felt like you really felt that he really cares about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I, don't know, I thought that was a really great flashback. Um,
Oh well, there's another flashback in that episode. There was the flashback when she went and it finished off the her killing her parents with her uncle scene.
oh, what? Why don't I have a note about that?
Probably, I don't know.
Did I just like pass out or something?
Yeah,
what the fuck
do you
happened? Yeah.
remember what was it? She like the aunt came in late or something like that, and she started like
Oh, yeah.
laughing, and then like after like she killed him or he killed him or something like I forgot who killed the aunt, but I think one killed one, the other killed the other. But then she told her uncle to say that she did everything.
Yeah. Okay, I do have a note here. It just so the note that I had was that I realized that it all happened in the lab, and that was a big reveal for me.
What do you mean?
That the murders happened in the laboratory. That's what it seemed.
I'm not sure if that's actually true. There were definitely some like structural similarities. I'm not sure if the laboratory was actually created yet. My theory was that the lab she then designed the laboratory based off of the house in which she killed her parents.
Oh, okay. So
But
maybe I
it
just
could
got
have been
really
the same.
confused.
It could have been the same. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I got a
But
little confused because
there
there's
were
a
a
shot of
lot of
her
like
walking.
structural similarities, and like the doors worked the same way and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. That yeah. Okay, so that scene was fucked up either way,
But
but
I mean, I feel like they would have been like, "This is where she killed her fucking parents," like like if it was
yeah,
actually
that's
at
true.
that location, that'd be really creepy. Even
That would have
for
been
computer programmers or whatever.
okay. I just got confused.
Or
But computer programs are all like basically serial killers, right? I mean, that's what the show
I
is
mean,
saying.
all of
They're all
my
really messed
computer
up.
programmer friends are serial killers, so that's how I figured how.
Or like distant from life.
Beep beep beep.
Beep boop boop.
Uh,
Uh, so that takes us to episode
mhm.
8. And Ayako meets Saikawa, who comes to pick up Nishino Sono or just say hi from the rec room. And Nishino Sono blocks Ayako with a dish, or not a dish, but a serving plate, and then kicks her out of the
Oh
room.
right, because she's flirting with her
Uh,
man.
yeah, so she shuts that shit down
Yeah, she's
hard.
like,
She's
listen,
like,
listen,
nope.
listen, you broad, get out. Boom.
Yep, come on,
Yeah.
get up off of that. So we had that, and then she talks to Nishino Sona. I mean, talks to Saikawa about what to do about the 1 week ban and how it's basically impossible, really kind of difficult to maintain. And so Saikawa reminds Nishino Sona that her uncle is the chief of police and
Do
that
you know what I
prefecture.
sort of liked about this? So her whole thing was like, we should tell the police to get their assistance, but I'll just tell have my uncle like shut him up.
Yeah,
But then like she was like explaining, she's like, hey uncle, you can't. He's like, that's not how this works, honey. Like like I can't
yeah,
just not.
yeah. He's like, I can't just not talk about a double murder
Right,
for a week. Yeah, yeah. And I liked how but I liked how he still tried to respect the situation by by saying, okay, I'll go out there and I'll talk to them.
right,
Because I'm sure it's not hard for him to figure out that the staff was probably putting pressure on one of them to not say anything. So and then also since Nisha Nosono remembered what happened, she apologizes to Saikawa about breaking his glasses, um, and then they reminisce about that time, and she talks about how she was always asking him, why do people live? And that reminded me about Magata as a child talking to her uncle. Wasn't she saying something similar to him back in episode
Yeah,
like 3?
I mean, they talked about how she was constantly questioning like why people live, what the meaning of life is, even at such a young age, etc., etc.
Yeah. So I thought that was a nice shout out to how similar the trio are to each other, in different
Mm-hmm.
ways. So I thought that was cool. And so then the plan is to shut down red magic to like cleanse the system or whatever.
Dude, I wrote, "Shut down red magic, you gonna die." I was convinced that guy was gonna get murdered just as soon as he talked about shutting down red magic.
I was too.
Didn't
And
happen,
actually,
but
I just realized we forgot a big scene to discuss.
hmm.
We forgot about Saikawa talking to
The whole gradual sunrise scene.
Magata's sister with the terrible English.
Oh yeah, when did that happen?
That happened in
I
episode
think 7.
7.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
God,
yeah,
that was
yeah.
so awkward.
Yeah, that was really awkward. Yeah, uh,
I
they
want,
talk.
since this is a spoiler podcast, whenever we say Magata's sister, there's air quotes there. Them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
super air quote.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, of course, if you were paying attention, you'd have already known by now.
yeah,
But that was
yeah, yeah.
actually,
If you knew
yeah,
math, you already knew.
everything leads to F.
And this is another one of those scenes that while I was watching it, I was just like, oh, okay, the English is terrible. Or he's just talking to the sister. And then when you watch the whole show, I was like, that's fucking creepy.
And you just super zone out. Like I even remember,
Yeah.
like the when everyone was loading on the boat. I remember seeing the sister and being like, "Well, I guess she's leaving on the boat."
I don't even remember seeing her. See, that's the thing is I didn't even remember
I
that.
think
That's
she's
how
wearing
zoned out.
purple too.
I think she was, and I was actually totally distracted by the girl who was barfing or who got seasick.
Oh,
I got totally
did you totally
distracted by
forget
her.
who she was?
Yeah, I
I totally
totally
forgot
forgot
she
who
was
she.
too.
Yeah, I was like, "Who the fuck is this person?" I was like, are they leaving? Did they leave the island? Like, did we skip time or something?" Yeah, I felt like a dumbass
Right.
20
It's like,
minutes
oh
later when I
right.
was like, oh
But
yeah, it's
she
the
was
chick
like
from the
dressed
first
up as
episode.
in like it was completely costume change and whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, these guys. The director was just a sneaky monkey with this
Yeah.
one. He really snuck that one by me. I like, So anyway, we'll get to that. But so we have a scene with really awkward English because they're
Yeah.
smart, so they talk in English to each other. Oh no, she's supposedly from America, right?
Right.
Yeah, so Miki is
She was
talking
studying
to.
abroad in America.
That's
Although
right.
she's
Yeah,
really
so
studying abroad in America, then English wouldn't be so shit.
I know.
Boom, that's another clue. It was all intended.
Although I guess he wouldn't know that. Maybe he's bad at English. Anyway, whatever. So yeah, that was episode 7. So episode 8, uh, they decide to shut down Red Magic. The guy with the glasses, whose name I'm just not going to look up.
Which really like I don't think anything really happened from that, right?
Well, there was like,
Oh, that was the whole like rewriting and then losing the file when you were shutting. Was that when the so
yeah,
it was
yeah,
actually
erase
all
the
part
file.
of the plan?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
all part of the
you've
plan.
activated my trap card.
I know that.
What happens when
I
you
felt
have
like
two files named the same thing?
I felt like Eisen for a second. I was like, yes, it's all been part of the
Right.
plan. You did exactly what I
Your
was
entire
expecting.
birth was all part of the plan.
So, when the lights go off, so Nisha Nosono takes a cute little nap next to Saikawa, who has just naturally been thinking hard the entire time, or it looked like he kind of fell asleep for a little while. But there's a voice over the intercom that announces that the reset of Red Magic will happen at 11. I really thought I thought Nisha Nosono was gonna get her head cut off when the lights went off for some reason.
Yeah, another
Instead,
murder was supposed to happen then, right?
yeah, that's what I
But
thought. I was like,
but no.
oh, the lights are gonna come back on, and she's gonna be like in 6 pieces anyway. So nothing happens. Instead, Saikawa lights up his cigarette, and we get this really fucking trippy scene with a lot of ostriches and like people dancing. I'm gonna be real honest here.
Are we in 8 or 9 right now?
We're an
Okay,
eight.
I didn't even. I think I was just like, what, and then didn't make any
Yeah.
notes. I was like, listen, if
So,
this has to do with the murder, I don't even want to know. All right, like,
so there, yeah, there's a lot of ostrich. And then I just it didn't work. I like kind of thought I knew what they were doing. Like maybe they're doing this thing where he's like going back through human history or something, trying to like
dude,
solve
what
this
they really
murder.
needed was they needed him in a room with a penguin and the penguin to say slide. You know, like that's what they needed.
Well, at this point, I thought he's just been awake for too long, right? Like he's
That's
just
true.
been
You do hallucinate
he
when you
just
stay up for a really long time.
he just needs a fucking nap at this point. Anyway, I thought that was weird. I didn't know what was going on. I don't know what the ostriches meant or why there were so many or why they were dancing. I'm going to go out on a limb and say they look like
Hexagons? Yeah, me too.
oh, screw you, dude.
That's what I was thinking.
They're all hexagons. Yeah, they were like they look like took place in
I
like
mean, if you were paying attention, you would have noticed that there were 7 ostriches, and seven's the loneliest number.
and there were an FFF number of people
Which activated
dancing.
my trap card. So anyway, yeah.
Podcast over.
Right. Done. I'm out.
we'll have to take another route next time and see if we can get out of this dungeon
Right.
alive. So I don't know what the fuck was going on there, but the lights come back on. Nishino Sono tries to make a call out. The call goes through. She gets her butler, who's like, "Yo, what's up?" And she's like, "Yo, man, I almost like there was like 2 murders, some crazy shit went down." He's like, "Whoa, bitch, that's crazy." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I know, fuck yeah. Can you like call the cops?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can do that." And then they hang
Yeah.
up, or she hangs up on him, which was really rude. I
Very
thought.
rude. And
I
also,
was
why
like,
didn't she call the cops? What the fuck? Anyway,
why
your
didn't she just
uncle.
call that? Well, I guess it was like a test call to see if she could even call
Right.
out. I think that was it. Anyway, I thought it was kind of mean. He's like, "Are you okay?"
It's like, yeah, bro. Click.
And she was like, "That's not the point." I was like, "Okay." Jeez, Nishida Sono lost 2 points there. I thought that was very rude
Cold
of her,
blooded.
especially to that butler, who's obviously put up with a lot of her bullshit over the
Yeah.
years.
Look how old
Um,
he is.
I know he's actually 23.
Right. Being a butler is pretty much just the same as being in the presidency. You know, like
Yeah.
being a U.S. president.
Oh yeah. He gets even more shit than
You're like
Saikawa.
in a hyperbolic chamber or something like that. And just age.
See, Saikawa knows if he goes out on dates with her and like takes her shopping and shit, he's gonna look like that in 3 years.
Probably.
So he just lets the butler do
Yeah,
all of
I
that.
believe it. I believe.
They were actually college roommates. Butler was actually also a fellow student of Nishino Sono Sensei.
Yeah. So episode
Okay,
nine.
yeah, I went too far with that. So
This.
God, so
I mean, like of all of my notes, I only think that like one. so I have 2 notes on this whole thing that I just want to touch on real quick, which was when he was freaking out or whatever, and he was like, "Call me idiot. Idiot isn't enough. Like it isn't enough of an insult. Like really make me feel terrible about myself."
Nishino Sono needed to channel some Asuka right there and really light up Saikawa Shinji
Dude,
style.
for sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
So my last note for episode
uh,
8 is that I think Saikawa is reflecting about Magata's. Actually, I think it was the uncle again. It switches back to his whatever. There's a comment about how Magata, however we got to it at the end of episode 8. There's a comment about how it was her perfect world to live in that environment because no one would tell her what to do. She could completely ignore humanity.
right, and just do her work.
Yeah, and she could do whatever she
Yeah.
wanted. And I thought that was it's interesting because it really highlights like so this is a brilliant person who obviously has a lot of social issues.
Yeah.
She killed her parents and shit. Kind of was having sex with her uncle, a few social issues. But it was interesting how like what a selfish lifestyle that is,
Yeah.
from a certain perspective. Because on the one hand too, I was like, my first thought was like, yeah, I would really like that. That'd be cool. No one telling me what to do,
Yeah,
not having
freedom.
not having to be like, dependent on anybody else. Well, I guess she is super dependent on people because she's dependent on that entire staff
Right, to
to
serve
keep
her.
that. yeah, to serve her. So it's like, wow, what a. I mean, it's interesting because she saw. It's like Magata as a character. It's an interesting statement because it just really hit home for me. Like, I mean, she's brilliant. She's thought apparently had all of life figured out when she was what 14, 13, or like younger than that. And it's just amazing how the her perfect world was like this really incredibly self-centered universe,
Yeah.
which to me struck me as like, well, how much could she really learn from that state? You know, I don't know. It's just it's a curious situation, and highlighted even more by a reveal that happens.
Well, I mean, isn't there
The
like
next
a didn't they go for on the whole thing? Like she's really smart and doesn't waste time on like frivolous small talk communication sort of stuff, or like I feel like that was like a whole
Yeah, I mean that
topic.
was a whole thing, but it struck me. It just especially struck me as like how selfish she is, and it's interesting because when we learn the big reveal in the next episode that she wasn't actually alone,
Yeah, man.
uh, it it's very curious, very curious. Anyway, we can talk about it more when we've gone through all the episodes,
You know,
but I just thought,
of the notes that I want to talk about, it
mhm.
wasn't how she wasn't alone. Like it was just the him calling himself idiot, and the other ones being like when they were talking, they went like deep into computer shit at the end. And I just said, I don't understand this computer mumbo jumbo. That was the note that I made to myself. Like I was able to follow around it for a little while because like I do mess around with computers a lot, but I was just like what?
it's like I'm a podcaster, not a programmer.
Yeah,
Explain this shit.
fuckers.
So in episode 9, we've already talked about how I got completely distracted by the barfing girl, or the seasick girl, and missed fucking sneaky Magata sneaking
Yeah.
out.
How dare she?
But this is the last time we see the students. They're leaving the
Yeah.
island. I was actually really confused that if they, like I said before, if they were leaving or going, or returning to the island, or like leaving it. I don't know. I feel like that's why I got confused if the murders had happened at the facility or not. And I think that's one complaint I'd have is that some of the settings weren't very. I got confused. I just got
Yeah.
confused where some shit was happening. Which you can kind of see how in the novel that wouldn't be an issue,
Well,
but
actually, I mean, it depends on when they're doing their flashbacks. Because I think one of the things that makes stuff confusing is how they kept on doing those flashbacks. So, and then
mm,
they'd like go back to it, and then they change this little thing or something like that. So there were times we wouldn't really know where you are in the timeline.
that's true. Yeah. And it's even made it a little more rocky because this episode is actually the first one without a flashback scene at the ending, or at the very end. So I just was confused. So the cops have arrived. I noted that it's really nice that Nishinosona has such great connections.
Right.
um, Deborah, the computer, is back, and we go back to Ayako's room, who Ayako ends up hanging out and becoming fast friends with the girl from the first episode, who was bringing treats to Saikawa Sensei.
Right.
And why was this chick here again? Like I missed that. I just like
Oh,
zoned out.
she was a fashion model magazine like writer or something like that, and she was there to interview Magata, the doctor.
Oh, okay. I missed that part
Yeah.
somehow. Probably I was writing a note.
Or there was like a math scene before that, and you were recovering.
I think what I actually got distracted by is they're in Ayako's room, and there's all these like Gundam posters and model kits, and there's a poster for the anime series number 6, which also ran on Noitama. So I just got distracted by the
Fair
room.
enough.
So I think that's what it was. And then we have the grand misunderstanding that Nishina Sono thinks that Saikawa is spending, well, he's obviously spending the night at this lady's house, but she takes it that he's sleeping with her.
Oh, right.
And that's where the note of it was the two of us plus 7 extras come in. Uh, So, we have here Nisha Nasona continuing her battle with this lady from the first episode where she's trying to assert that she really is with Saikawa.
Right.
uh, so, misunderstanding. And then at the rooftop of the building, we have the conversation between Saikawa and Nisha Nasona. And you mentioned that they had the cool conversation a couple episodes ago with the sun rising. I really like that.
Yeah. And I actually like I even rewound it because the sunrise was so gradual that I was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, is the sun rising? Like is that
Hmm.
like because usually the scene swaps are just way faster than that. But I thought it
Hmm.
was a really nice effect.
Yeah, that was really well done. That was really cool, and it made that scene all the more memorable too. For this is now they've had a number of conversations down on the rooftop, so it's just cool to have something visual to make that stand out. So Saikawa in the last episode kind of said that he knew who the culprit was, but then Nishino Sono says that she'll catch up to him. So in this episode, they're both like, or he was saying how he's got it figured out, and she's like, oh, I think I figured it out too, and she starts crying. And my note was like, well, I haven't figured out shit, so I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about it, and I was already feeling dumb because I was like, it's gonna be something real,
Yeah.
you
It's
know.
like oh
And
damn.
yeah, so it's revealed that she wasn't, I mean Magata wasn't alone when she walked into the room for the first time 15 years
Yeah,
ago,
because she fucked her uncle.
and she was pregnant.
Yep. Why?
Mic drop.
Yeah. Like I had no idea why. I think because like she was like 12, so I was like, 12-year-olds don't get pregnant, right? Or whatever. Like that's just not like a
Yeah,
thing that pops into my mind.
yeah. So she was 14, I guess, because that's when she killed her parents. So
Oh,
she was
okay.
pregnant when she was 14.
14-year-olds, I mean, like
But I think that's exactly why she was so. They had her be so young, is because I just didn't think about that. I didn't even think about that as like,
an option.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, just yeah. It didn't even. I was actually taken aback that was even part of the story. You know what I mean? I was like, oh my god, like this is a really fucked up. I was just distracted by the whole situation that she was so young, that it was her uncle. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that was obviously all intentional, right? It's a great way of distracting everybody from trying to figure out. Because if she had been older, it's like, and she had a
Right.
relationship with,
And they're like whining and dining and like
yeah, if they had had proper
yeah,
date,
it's like, oh my god, I want your seat inside me. Like I'll be like, oh, I get it, But
yeah, by that point, I think it would have been pretty
hey, maybe for some
obvious. But
people, all right.
well, I couldn't tell where the stork came in. I mean, I think there were birds at the start. Actually, there were birds at the start of this episode. I think with the seashore and stuff.
Mhm.
So
One of those is a stork.
that's yeah. I mean, they could have snuck one in there. I'll look back, and that's probably where that was, because that's how it happens. And that also, what was cool is that explained the Legos and the bears and
Yeah.
stuff. So suddenly then I was like, oh, she wasn't just fucking crazy. I mean, she was fucking crazy, but
I actually have no idea what you're talking about right now.
oh, in the room. Remember, she had the Legos and the
Oh,
bears, and we
right, right,
talked
right.
about
That was
yeah.
episode 10?
Oh no, that was like episode 4. Whenever they went into the room the first time.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah,
because in episode 10 when they went to the isolation tank, there were the Legos in the cloud scene, which I thought was really interesting.
yeah. That was
That
really
that was a, that
interesting.
was a trippy scene.
That was trippy as fuck. Yeah, that was, especially when he was running on the side of the building and stuff.
Yeah.
That
And
was
then
trippy.
like he was having a really nice conversation out in the sea or whatever, like with a great view, and she was like in a dungeon.
Yeah,
It's like, oh.
yeah. I think which really reflected their feelings about Magata. Hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess. I just said that to sound smart, so I hope
Well, I
that
have
was
no idea. I wasn't really paying attention, so I just agreed in order to like
move it along.
exactly.
But yeah, so I thought it was cool that explained the Legos and the bears. I was like, oh, and that there were two chairs. I also
Yeah,
didn't get that. That fucked with my
and
head.
that the robot that could only open the door from the
Yeah, I
inside.
didn't get that part. Why was that?
So the kid wasn't just like running around and shit. So the kid was essentially just like locked into the room, and then and
Uh,
so she would like that's how she would unlock it. Or like if the kid went in there to like lock herself in or something like that, then she'd just be like, "All right, robot, open this shit up."
okay. Wow. Okay,
All
cool. All
right.
right, nice. So, yep. Now the note I have is maths.
That's
So,
probably the computer mumbo jumbo of the note that I have.
yeah, computer. It's funny. My notes are maths and then what with like 16 million U's. Do what happened? Because I don't actually have a note for what happened.
This as I think when they're talking about um, how she erased her getting on the elevator and going to the top floor for that scene. So so the way that she erased that file was she like renamed the one after it the same as that one. So when they rebooted the computers, it rewrote
Oh, okay.
the the old file with the new file.
That's right. Okay, okay. So they realized that there was a file missing and
Right.
everything. Okay. So, but so at this point, we think it's the daughter who's killed Magata and escaped. Right. That's I
Um.
thought. I think that was the big cliffhanger for episode. That's where I was. That's where my brain was at. Was that I thought it was the daughter who had killed her. Um.
Oh yeah, but that wasn't the case. It was because they yeah.
Yeah. I mean that doesn't actually happen, but that takes us to episode 10 because they Magata and Saikawa. I mean Nishino Sono and Saikawa pop in the float tank.
Right. That was the scene that I was talking about before with the when they were out in the dreamy cloud sea world or whatever, and
Hmm.
she was in like the basement.
Yeah.
Right.
And I actually wish that I kind of wish that Magata's last conversation with Nishino Sono was a little more interesting. I feel like, I mean, obviously we all wanted to see Saikawa and Magata converse, but I kind of I do think Magata and Nishino Sono had a kind of thing going, and I'm kind of sad that they didn't resolve that. They didn't give that a little more of an interesting resolution.
Yeah.
Saikawa sucks up all of the attention, which is fine. I mean, that's what they've been building up to. But they go off together on a separate seashore walk before going into the water, and Nishino Sona just gets dumped, basically. I just thought that was kind of unceremonious, especially with how dramatic Nishino Sona's first meeting with Magata was in episode
Right.
1. I just wish, and there's similarities, and especially like the previous conversation they had in the float tank. I don't know. I feel like I do feel a little let down that there wasn't more of a resolute something else with those two characters. But here it's totally revealed that it was Magata all along, that her daughter committed suicide. I guess that's what happened. That was and that it was her daughter's body, and she cut the limbs off so that nobody would
Oh,
realize that.
did her daughter commit suicide or did she kill her?
I was under the impression she committed suicide.
I don't really remember. I remember her being taken aback by the "Who are you?" I thought that she just didn't want. She wanted to like lead her own life instead of, assume her mother's life, Magata's life.
So I'm going to be a jerk, and so I just read the
Yeah,
Wikipedia thing for it.
she
So
tried to kill herself.
she did kill
Okay,
herself because she began to question the plan that Magata had which was for her daughter to kill her and Shindo, the uncle, and then take her place. But then when Nishino Sono was interviewing her in the first episode, she mentioned that the only time she kind of lost her composure was when she asked who
Yeah,
she
yeah.
was.
I
Yeah.
remembered all that. I just missed the details, but I'm glad you figured it out because I mean, although I do love to bullshit, I also like to be corrected and be right or know what I'm talking about at least. So
We were recording in the same room. we'd end the podcast and you just like beat the shit out of me.
Son of a
It's
bitch!
like that's what
How
you get for
dare
correcting me
you! Oh
mid
my God,
podcast.
talk down on me like that? Do you know who I am? Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So I thought that was interesting. I wish I'm going to be a little morbid here. I wish we had gotten a flashback.
Of the killing or the suicide or whatever. And
Yeah, I wish we had gotten a flashback to show how it was actually just kind of carried out because the whole missing limb thing, how clean the place was. I mean, I get she's brilliant. I get that it was inferred that she did all of it, and she did. But I just wish we visually had something to see. You know what I mean?
well, like here's the thing. I mean, do you want to still keep on going episodically through this, or just sort of like
We're pretty close. Well, should we just finish up the because we just got I've got a few more notes for each
right?
one, and then we can go over critique.
I guess my sort of thing is at the end of episode 10, when she
Mhm.
goes up to see her uncle, and then like they kiss, which is fucking weird, and then she stabs him in the back, or it
Yeah, that
tells her
was
that.
cool. That
But
was
guess what?
yeah,
He was sitting down in the helicopter with a knife out of his neck.
yeah,
It was completely different, like.
yeah. And there would have been blood on the ground, wouldn't
Right,
there?
and then what? Like,
I
what is she
mean,
gonna like then carry the body? Like, I don't even know if she's that freaking strong.
and also where I got confused too is they show her again. I think it's in episode 11, maybe it's actually episode 10. They reminded us that she got off the helicopter, and there was a shot of her in the helicopter flying with the
Right,
uncle,
with the helicopter
wasn't
being
there?
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was.
So that didn't make any fucking sense to me. Like, so she left. So the lights flashed. She took the elevator. She took the elevator to the top. Did she just chill there, or was he already waiting up there
And then they got in the helicopter, and then took off a
and
little
flew around a
bit,
loop
and then
and then came
landed.
back?
But he
So
was
like,
already stabbed in his back, so he was sort of
so like,
bleeding out.
but they said he was already gone, so they would know that the helicopter was gone, right? I, I just it seems weird that with all of the like facilities, cameras and stuff, that they didn't notice he was just chilling there with the helicopter when he was like, "I'm totally gone, guys."
Well, no, he didn't say that he was gone. He just like gave them like a thumbs up or whatever while the thing was still running.
Well, yeah, but prior to that, the staff said he wasn't there because he was going to pick up Magata's sister.
Oh right, because he was arriving with his. I don't know, but
Yeah,
I think that was like the biggest plot hole in this whole thing. I mean,
and
that
that
probably
really
is what frustrated me the most about this anime.
well, that kind of fucked it up for me because I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how? Where did she go? They were looking over the
Right.
sides. Like, what? I don't. I mean, especially with like angle of the knife and shit like
Yeah.
that. I don't
I
know.
mean,
Just
and they could have still kept the mystery. Like, I mean, because the guy knew that she was going to kill him.
yeah, I would have actually preferred them not to have shown. I mean, it was a great scene. It was very powerful and all, and it was a great resolution to the uncle's flashback series that had kind of gone taken us through the whole show, where he gives her the diary he'd written and all that. But I would have preferred. I don't know. I would have almost preferred that to have happened differently, or have not shown that. And I would have liked to have seen what happened in the room more.
Well, I mean, like with that, they could have shown that. Well, they just needed to like not show, like maybe have her waving at him from the ground or
Yeah.
something like you could have just adjusted those angles a little bit differently, and then it wouldn't have
Yeah.
been that like like not had the knife coming out of his neck.
Yeah, something different
Just
because
maybe had like the cockpit covered in blood.
yeah, because you can't have a show that's all about logic and then suddenly have such a weirdly illogical framing or weirdly logical
Yeah.
framing. You know what I mean? It's just that really bugged me because also too like I feel like because we that was shown strangely with such like there was such weird it was like such a strangely sentimental meeting, and then the fact that we didn't see really how she butchered her daughter. I feel
You
like we
really wanted to see
really
her butcher her daughter, huh?
I do
You
because you know
sick,
what at
sick
the
man.
I'm a sick fuck, but you know what I think I feel like Magata really was left out, or she was. I feel like she got off easy at the end of this show. And I say that because she did all this really terrible shit. She murdered her parents. She caused her daughter to commit suicide, and then she chopped her limbs off. And we get a very
Yeah.
peaceful,
Sort of
like,
sympathetic with the character or whatever. Like you're not
yeah.
sort of it's a bad person, but you're the show doesn't really like make you hate her, you know?
And I feel like it's fine to give her depth and to make it. I mean, she's obviously a very interesting character, but I feel like by not even somehow visually like with her parents' murder, I felt like that was well done. You know what I mean? You really saw how like crazy she was, you know, and just what a horrible scene it was. That was really well done. And I feel like by not showing anything that happened in that room, we missed that she basically tortured another human's life for 15 years
Mm-hmm.
from birth, and then the girl died without ever seeing the outside world. That's like
Right.
it's kind of hard to imagine anything more horrible than that. I mean, like killing her parents is like is basically humane. I mean, like you know what I mean. Like that's, and I feel like they brushed over that way too easily. And I feel like the daughter as a character was just really brushed over with like the wave of a hand, almost like a magic trick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like she wasn't much more than a plot device. Like it was like, oh, it's the daughter, and it's like, oh, she's the one who killed Magata, and it's like, oh, okay, and then suddenly it was no, she committed suicide because she was like, wait a second, this is all really fucked
Right.
up.
And that's why
Who, yeah,
why the Magata's sister looks so much older than
yeah, yeah, and I just thought that was, I thought I didn't like how that was handled because it just felt so, and it was just. I don't know. It
yeah.
felt so too clean. You know what I mean? Like just way too clean. And I felt like I was sympathizing with Magata way more than I should be.
Right.
You know, even at the end when she meets with Saikawa, she was like, "Oh, I was thinking about having you kiss me and all this bullshit." And I was just like, wait a second, wait a second. Also, I really feel like Saikawa is still having such an appreciation for her at the
It's kind
end
of fucked up.
is really fucked up.
Yeah.
That that was like major boo boo. Major boo boo for
Right.
me because he's a smart dude. He obviously really cares for Nishino Sono. He obviously has some sort of, I mean, his brain works differently than everybody else's, but he still understands basic human morality, you know, or how it is for most people. And I just feel like he admired Magata as a genius for his whole life, or for as long as he knew about her, I guess. And then I feel like they should have had something with him coming to terms with this this being who he admired, and then realizing that she was not only as messed up as he probably imagined her as being, but was even more horrible. You know what I mean?
Right.
And really coming to terms with, okay, we may be brilliant, we may be able to do all this fancy math shit, I may be able to clinically diagnose the psychological ailments of all of civilization. But I'm just going to casually ignore how this woman had a kid and essentially abused this kid and probably the most horrible way for their entire life.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like that stuff. I don't know. That whole part of me didn't bother me that much. The only thing that really bothered me was just the framing confusion. I mean, like I understand
Yeah.
but like knowing the character, I don't think that's like a huge stretch. Like it's a lot easier for me to understand Saikawa's character still sort of having an admiration for the doctor. It's a lot easier for me to understand that and make that transition than it is for like the dagger and the helicopter, whatever that little snippet right there.
Yeah, I mean
I mean,
that
it's
stuff
yeah,
is.
you could just say like it's all morally wrong and all the other stuff and how it's like really messed up, which yeah, it totally is. But it's still, but does still kind of make sense, you know.
Yeah, it still kind of makes sense. It was kind of unfortunate that we didn't. I would have liked to have seen a little more of him grappling with it, especially when,
But he
uh,
isn't the sort of he never grappled with like anything for the entire anime.
yeah,
It'd be really weird if he like suddenly had like a crazy breakdown when meanwhile he's like coolly looking at the corpse of what he thought was this person that he admired so much, and that didn't rattle him at all, really.
yeah. I mean, I guess so. I just think that, I mean, he talked a lot about like. I mean, there's obviously a lot of philosophy in this show, and I just think that the conversation between him and Magata in the sea or on the beach and the float tank, that could have been discussed. Like, because if she was always asking like what life was about, I don't know. I feel like we could have wrapped up those themes along with discussing a little bit that she did basically force her daughter to commit suicide. I don't know. I just feel like that could have been handled a little differently. But I agree with you too. It's not like this guy was like a big box of feelings in the first place
Ever.
ever. Yeah, which is really Nishino Sono's role.
Right.
Uh,
But I
which
mean,
is, I
even
guess,
then, she isn't really that much of a big box of feelings. I mean, these are all very like hyper intelligent, sort of
yeah,
dissociative, like
just very much
psychotic sort of
dissociative.
people. I
Yeah,
mean,
I guess that's why. Maybe what I'm still complaining about is that Nishino Sono didn't have a more interesting conversation with Magata at the
uh-huh.
end, because maybe Nishino Sono would have been the one to really work that out with Magata.
Hey,
I don't know. That just something about that, along with the knife and stuff like that, left me kind of a little irritated.
grumpy
And then also
face.
in this episode, yeah, a little grumpy face. And also in this one, apart from all the hexadecimal stuff, which I can't comment on it. I have no idea. I have no idea about all that math. Um, but we finally see both of his eyes in this episode, which I think is the first time, aside from when he got
I
smacked
never
by.
even noticed the eye
Yeah,
thing, so I can't
yeah.
confirm nor deny.
I
I
feel like
always
this is
thought he
the.
had two eyes, but you seem convinced he only had one. So like, I don't know who was blocking out what. I'm just saying.
I know. Yeah, the whole show is kind of what about blocked memories in a way,
Yeah,
you
oh,
know.
there we
So
go.
yeah,
Boom, bringing it
there we
back.
go. But I feel like I took it, if it really was the case that this is the first time we really see him with both eyes, I feel like it kind of represented how he's sort of like running half interested in things most of the time. And when he finally got to talk with Magata, he was fully
Dude, you're reaching, man.
engaged.
Come on.
I know I'm reaching. I know. I know.
Like I can't. I'm pretty much like trying to look like anywhere other than like my computer monitor right now. It's just like, oh god, what the fuck has been going
uh,
on?
but we did find out something else about the girl in the class who was constantly asking the dude what stuff meant.
Oh,
Uh, she was Chinese. She didn't know Japanese that well.
oh,
Yeah.
oh! I totally missed that. That's cool. Um.
So, final episode.
Oh wait, that was all the. Oh, I thought we were already in the final episode.
Oh, we did. Oh, okay. Well,
I don't know. I mean,
yeah. I I missed the mushroom thing. When did Nishino Sono? When was she told that she should eat mushrooms for her? Was it anemia?
no fucking clue.
Yeah. At first, I thought she was like tripping because that girl was talking to her about how Saikawa thinks about Nishino Sono more than anyone else she knows, and then she's just gone and she's just chewing on a mushroom. Anyway, I was a little distracted by that.
Yeah, I have no idea. The only
Uh,
thing I have in this episode. So I mean, because this was the scene where she went, she talked to the guy and said that she wanted to kiss him and stuff like that. That was
yeah.
on episode 11, and then she left and was escorted away by the quote unquote police officers who weren't actually the police officers.
Was that what happened? I got totally confused by
Yeah,
that.
so like she got escorted away by what it looked like it was like he thought it was police officers. Everyone thought it was the police officers, but the police officers weren't on detail. Like they weren't following him anymore. They were taken off to do something else. So that means that she was picked up by someone else. I'm assuming it was some sort of tech programming, whatever company hiring her.
Yeah.
I was sort of like, yeah,
Okay. Because that also, I was like, what? I was like, she was arrested, and then
And they're
she was
like,
just
she's
hanging
not
out.
arrested. It's like, what?
Okay. And then Saikawa actually didn't explain what had happened. He just laughed. So,
Oh,
yeah.
and because I thought that was like she wanted to sort of stage it, maybe in a way or whatever. That
Yeah.
it was one way, and then it was another. So he's like, ha ha ha, you got me again. Snaps
Yeah.
fingers.
Yeah, she tries to smoke. Doesn't go too well with
Right.
her. Uh, and I thought the comment she makes about how she wanted somebody to murder her was an interesting,
Yeah, that was weird.
which of course was her plan with her daughter. Was she wanted her daughter to
Yeah,
murder her,
she
and
wanted to die,
that's
but didn't want to be the one to kill herself.
yeah, yeah. And she thought it was funny how she says that she wants someone else to interfere with her life, and I think it's Saikawa who's like, "Isn't that what love is?" She's like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I guess so." So that was interesting. So finally, we finally learned that Guido, the girl from the first episode who showed up on the island, who was kind of been giving Nishino Sono all this shit for being sort of not being with Saikawa. Anyway, it's all been a big misunderstanding. It's his not only is it his little sister, but but she's also married, and it's also the one who gives Saikawa his shirts, which was what Nishino Sono was asking him in the first episode too.
Right.
So she says now that she'll be the one to give Saikawa all of his shirts. And we changed scenes a lot. We changed scenery a lot here, is what I mean, during this long conversation that they have at the end. I kind of took it that he finally went out with her because she was always trying to get him to go out with her um, to go see shit.
Right.
So that's how I took that.
Yeah.
And then we have I was kind of on board, and then they lost me with Magata and her daughter in the desert on a camel.
Nope, didn't even write about it. Didn't even care. That's
Yeah,
dumb.
talking about life and how there's this weird bullshit at the end about how humans don't know everything, and since we continue to seek answers, we can learn how to be kind. And I just felt like I don't know. I felt like the show sort of should have just ended with something else because I'm gonna guess that the desert was a metaphor for the room. I don't know. I could be reaching way up
I
my butt for
mean, you
that
can
one.
say that I
But
sort of just saw that as like a like that their way of exploring the world um through those freaking machines. I don't really know. Think it was really necessarily a metaphor. They're just going on an
yeah,
adventure. But at that point, I didn't really care.
yeah. So then we end with the only shot we have of Magata and her daughter in the room together, and her daughter is hugging her from behind while she's cooking. And then she's at the beach with the ships, where we started the whole show at the start of the with the dream sequence at the beginning. And Magata says hi to her daughter and is introducing her to her father, the uncle, but we can't see either one of them. So I guess this is her internal mindscape, and she's now adopted two new personalities.
I think I was just already checked out.
Yeah. So that's how I read that. And then that's it. That was the end.
Yeah.
Um, so what'd you think?
Um, I think even though like I feel like at the end of that we got into a lot of little gripes about stuff. I think all in all it was really good anime. Um, I just really enjoyed it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would you recommend it to anybody
already
or?
have.
Oh
Yeah,
shit. One step ahead.
so that's good.
Yeah, I'd recommend this to people even who don't watch anime usually. Or, I think this was a really engaging. I mean, clearly a very engaging show, and like you said too. Gripes aside, also gripes aside about how I would have liked to have
But
seen certain stuff discussed. I think it was really well done.
another thing that like the main thing that bothers me with stuff like this is when like they don't give you any clues and then do the reveal and there's no way for you to really figure it out. You know,
Yeah,
with this one there's actually just like a oh fucking duh moment, you know, like
yeah, 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 and it made sense after we discovered it.
right. But it wasn't even
Uh,
like we were really close to figuring it out too.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if we had sat in a room and just thought about it for as long as they had, I think I think we would have been able to come to a similar
Well,
conclusion.
and like, well, we got different like pieces of it, you know,
Yeah. Mhm.
like we got that, you know, that she was somehow controlling the system still, you know, that she was manipulating and changing the red whatever program. Yeah, so yeah, there were a lot of little things that we sort of understood, you know,
Yeah.
like when whatever Mihoe or whatever, like her alternate self showed up as a program. I was like, that's
Oh
either
yeah.
her, like that's either the program of her or that's her. You know,
Yeah.
like there's no, oh, here's this third character. You know, like there's none of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just liked it. I really enjoyed it. It was a great ride. We've done 2 episodes on it,
Yeah,
so it clearly, I think that by itself should speak highly for the show.
yeah.
And I was just pumped to watch every episode. I was really excited to just go through it, and I thought the direction was great. I thought the animation was really well done. The music was done by uh, Kenji Kawai, who's actually he did the music for the first 2 Ghost in the Shell movies
Oh, cool.
and a shit ton of other stuff. So it was just, and that I didn't realize till the end. It was just really, really well done.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I didn't realize this because I avoided the Wikipedia page until we finished the show. It's Everything Becomes F is actually the first volume of the Professor Saikawa and his student Moe series. So there's actually 9 other books that were published after
Oh,
this
so
one.
it's like a Sherlock Holmes sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So, which actually now it makes that actually you can see where they branch out since she's related to the head of police in that one
Yeah, yeah.
district. And actually, interestingly, the live action television series, which aired in 2014, that was also called Perfect Insider, covered the rest of the novels along with Everything Becomes F.
Hmm.
So that's
It'd
an
be interesting
interesting.
if there was a sequel. I don't feel like this anime got a lot of traction. So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. I didn't really hear anybody
although it
talking
was
about it.
good,
So.
yeah, I didn't hear anyone talk about it. It was a complete surprise to us. So,
Total surprise. Yeah. Although I will say I enjoyed it so much, I would actually really like to see. I mean, if they never do it, that's
if
no
they did a
loss
sequel, I
to
would
me.
watch it
But
for sure.
yeah, likewise. Yeah. So there we go. This was a great ride, and thanks everybody for listening to. I think this is the longest we've talked about a single show, right?
No, we've done a couple other two parts. Like, did we do like prison school? And
Yeah, I'm actually going to totally just delete that from the show
yeah, I think
because I
it's
feel like a gigantic
like,
dumbass. Yeah,
didn't we
we've
do
done.
like 2 seasons of Knights of Sidonia?
Yeah,
And
we
those were
did.
like long episodes. So no, this isn't the longest, but yeah, it's
I
good shit.
guess let me autocorrect and just say that it's the longest we've talked about a single 11 episode show. I'll make it clear.
So it's just like asterisk, 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 see below, see below, see below. It's like
Yeah,
I'm not really wrong, but I'm wrong, wrong.
I had to go into a float tank and discover my memory of those previous podcast
Ah,
episodes.
that's cool.
Yeah,
Were there cloud blocks in there?
apparently that's how repressed they
Yeah.
were. Yeah. So thanks everybody for listening, and hope you'll come back for
Yeah.
next
See you
time.
guys next time.